Cosmic microwave background radiation, or CMBR, which is the thermal radiation left over from what we believe to be the Big Bang. I'm just kidding with you. Noise. All kinds of noise. Noise in the universe, noise in the audience, noise in our phone lines, noise in our bodies. The world is not as quiet of a place as we might imagine, and sometimes this can get distracting. So how do you separate the important from the trivial? How do you separate the signal from the noise? By understanding the noise. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Martin. You all know that Martin likes to be really technical, and we like to tease him for being so technical. So thank you for keeping us on our toes. All right, let's go ahead and roll into the prepared speeches. I know that Weston's a little tied up on a phone call, so he's going to try to make it today. If not, again, work comes first. We are a work club, so if he is able to show up, then all the better. I have an intro here. Okay, well, we'll have Wayne start us off. Wayne Motoyasu?
That's pretty good.
Motoyasu has been a Toastmaster for 2 weeks. He joined Toastmasters in order to improve his public speaking skills and learn how to confidently speak during Northrop Grumman meetings. Today, Wayne will be giving his first speech, The Icebreaker, from the Competent Communicator Manual, and the objective of the speech is to begin speaking before an audience and to discover speaking skills that he may already have and skills that may need attention. And the title of Wayne's 4 to 6 minute speech is Things About Wayne. Please join me in welcoming Wayne.
By show of hands, how many people know Japanese? And by know Japanese, I mean know how to speak or know how to read. No one. Okay, well, welcome to the club, nor can I. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. I am Wayne Motoyasu, and I am Japanese American. Or am I American Japanese? My mom was born in Maryland. My dad was born in Washington. I was born and raised about 10 miles down the road in Gardena. I went to elementary school, junior high school in Gardena. I went to the California State Polytechnic University of Pomona. You have to say it in that order. And have had jobs only in the greater Los Angeles area. I play basketball and I love to watch football. This tells me I'm American. But because I look Japanese, I always get sucked into conversations about Japan or Japanese stuff. Call it what you want, stereotyping, racial profiling, but it happens. Take, for example, 2 weeks ago at a work happy hour, I got caught in, at least majority of the time that I was there, in a conversation about Japanese stuff and being Japanese. One guy just came back from Japan, so he was excited. He's excited to tell me about all of the different places, wonderful and engaging places that he went to, all of the sights and sounds he heard, all of the conversations that he had. Another guy, he kept telling me, hey, you know, my wife's Japanese. I like this. I like that. I like to eat this. And I, all the while, just sat there like, And so one of the guys, but that would tell me that I am Japanese. I was very fortunate growing up because my parents exposed me to a lot of Japanese culture. I love food like ramen, udon, sukiyaki, sushi. And every New Year's, we would celebrate eating traditional Japanese food. My favorite, a dish called ozoni, which is a soup dish with vegetables, but it also has mochi in it. Now, for all of you who aren't Japanese, everyone, mochi is this sweet rice, sticky, chewy rice cake thing, and you put it in this soup, and it represents good luck. And the more mochis you eat, the more good luck you supposedly have. For the longest time, I've only eaten one mochi, so my luck has been a little spotty. But I digress about mochi. In The Last Samurai, of course, right? The narrator says, "The Japanese are an intriguing people. From the moment they wake, they devote themselves to the perfection of whatever they pursue. I have never seen such discipline." Now, I don't know if I'm like that, but I'm definitely a perfectionist. And that's why I had so much anxiety over presenting this speech and worrying about the uhs, ums, so's, you knows. So this also tells me that I'm Japanese. But at the end of the day, I don't know which one I identify with more. Being American because I was born here, my parents were born here, I work here, I love American sports, or Japanese because I look Japanese, I have been taught Japanese culture, and I agree somewhat with that Last Samurai statement. But overall, I'm just thankful that I'm both Japanese and American. But my favorite food is Mexican food.
Great job, Wayne. You have really good presence and delivery.
There you go.
A lot of us work really hard on being funny. It comes really naturally to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for setting the tone of the meeting and letting us know a little bit more about you. I guess we'll have to learn about your brother another day because he's not here right now. So we'll go ahead and save Weston's speech for next week. We'll go ahead and roll on to the second portion of the meeting, which is table topics. And Asha, can you please remind us of the timing parameters for table topics?
Sure, you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. When you hit 1 minute, I'll put up the green. When you hit 1:30, I'll put up the yellow. And then when you hit red, I'll put up, and when you hit 2 minutes, I'll put up red.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, to get us going with the table topics portion, let me welcome no other than our table topics master, Mr. Martin Goecki.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. In case no one has ever, or some of you have not heard what table topics is about and weren't listening when MaryJane explained it in the beginning, I know I was a little busy. The portion of this meeting is intended to give you a chance to do impromptu speaking. So I will be posing a question to you directly and having you come up here and speak for 1 to 2 minutes on it. You can talk literally about anything you want. Usually we like to hear answers to a question or something that's at least generally related to the question or to the theme or something that someone else has said during the meeting. But you can have a lot of freedom of what you want to do with that. And I'll start off with a couple of our previous members and then give you guys the guests an opportunity to try some of that if you want. But I would love to hear what you guys say. So the first question. Noise in the most general audio definition is any unwanted sound. In an article discussing the modern nature of noise, Luigi Rosolo made the claim that noise is so pervasive that pure sound no longer exists in today's world. Do you think this is true? Has pure sound ever existed? Bruno.
As Donald Trump would say, just kidding, he would not say anything about noise. Okay, Martin, breathe. You can breathe now. Noise, and I think what you're going after is true tranquility, lack of distractions, and I think that is present, has been present, and it can be both achieved in the physical world as well as inside your own mind. And I think in the physical world, despite our overdevelopment, I've been to quite a number of national parks where I literally sat on a big rock and looked out, and the landscape has not changed for centuries. And that's a place where I would challenge you to go and find some noise there. It's really something else. I think equally well you can find true tranquility and lack of noise inside your own head. And that's something that some people actually devote a lot of their lives to do. I'm not one of those people. However, I just enjoy reading a good book, sitting down, and maybe there's some passing by traffic around, but that is, I think lack of noise is more of a choice as opposed to something we can say, I don't have any control over noise. I think we have a lot more control over noise than we think we do. Thank you, Mr.
Wow, that gets us into all kinds of interesting questions later on. But first, 4 minutes and 33 seconds is the title to a 3-movement musical piece written by the experimental composer John Cage in 1952, and instructs any performers to not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. During the first performance of this piece, the concert pianist sat down and closed the piano lid. And so the point of this is to let the audience listen to the background noise of the concert hall. Would you say this is music? Why or why not? And what defines music? Sarah.
So if I'm to understand this correctly, this whole orchestra sits there for 4 minutes and 33 seconds and does not play their instruments. I don't think that would be music, otherwise I'd be the best musician ever. I could totally do that, I would get paid for it, that sounds great. I think music can be defined in a lot of ways, but generally some instruments. I don't know if I would consider it, that'd be more art than music. It's kind of interpretive, you kind of sit there and wonder, but I wouldn't say that's exactly music. I like some guitars, some other instruments, maybe some drums, maybe something going on. I think I'd be like, what am I doing here, sitting there? Did I miss it? Is it over? And that's why that is not music.
Thank you, Sarah, for that,
Thank you,
that
Mark.
very humorous answer. All right, I think I'm going to start calling on some of our guests. Kyle, I'm going to call on you
I think
first.
I'm good for today, man.
And you're okay for today?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
This is an easy question. It's really,
You're not allowed to say no,
I threw out some hard ones because they were supposed to have, Bruno was supposed to speak today and decided not to, so I had to give him a really hard one. And Sarah, I just like to give a hard time. So I'm going to give you a pretty easy one. It's something you won't have a problem.
All right.
You okay?
You're the man,
Yeah.
Clay.
Trust me, you're going to be fine.
Okay.
He's like,
You lied to me, man. You said I wouldn't have to talk.
I know
hey,
I know I don't exude a lot
I
of
didn't-
confidence in giving you easy questions, but you'll be fine once I relinquish the stage to you.
Oh.
Noise music is a category of music defined by being unobtrusive, claiming to be perfect to listening to while working or thinking. Some people claim to work better when listening to classical music. Others prefer to listen to podcasts or books, while still others prefer silence. Do you listen to anything while working? What works for you to help you focus? Kyle.
Yes, I do listen to music while I work. That music would be something that takes me to a better place in my mind. So, in my free time, I like to go to concerts. I like music. I like hip hop. I like EDM, electronic dance music. Whatever music can take me to a place where I feel at peace with myself helps me to work in a more productive and effective manner. That's pretty much my answer to that question.
cool, man, good job.
See, that was something.
Yeah.
You did
Good
so.
job, man.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Using noise and sound as a deterrent or weapon is a controversial practice. There is a device called the mosquito, which emits a high-frequency sound that is perceptible only to younger people with healthy ears. And it's used to prevent loitering in public areas. Several nations have also started to develop directed sound weapons, which make the target uncomfortable to varying degrees of pain. Do you think these non-lethal means of using sound as a weapon are appropriate? Mark.
Thanks, Martin. Bit of a ethical or sort of a question. So it is, I remember hearing too, they were using this sort of thing on, for when the whole Somali pirate thing was quite an issue. I know some of them, I thought, started to use directed sound where I guess the pirates would start approaching and they would, I guess, just blast them with some sort of high-pitched sound, or maybe rock music, I don't know. So was it effective, or is it something that we should pursue further, I think was the question. So I think non-lethal is probably always a better route to go than lethal. The results usually are a little bit better. You don't get as many dead people. So I think as a deterrent for some instances, I think it could definitely be a good thing. Maybe for things like loitering, like Martin mentioned, that some were mentioning, or that some countries were trying to use. I think though in some, maybe like I said, maybe like a maritime situation with the pirates, but I think that in some situations you still need lethal force. Obviously in some sort of a war zone, if there's an army, a couple armies fighting, I don't think some guy's going to stand out there with a couple speakers and hope that that's going to be effective. I think you need something a little heavier than that. But I could see where in some certain situations, or maybe in like riot situations, to disperse crowds and things, I think that would probably be a lot better than using bullets and guns.
Umit, I have a question for you if you are ready for it, sir.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Noise pollution is disruptive or excessive noise that often arises from machines, transportation systems, and other human activities. Do you think that Los Angeles, or the neighborhood that you live in, is a noise-polluted area? If so, what would you do to change it?
So I've never really thought about noise. So great topic to bring up to make us all think about it. But I originally am from Virginia, and I'm close to DC, and I lived in the city. So when I moved out here, it's the first time that I'm actually living in the suburbs now. And noise pollution to me was something that was so normal. When you open your window, you hear sirens, you hear just noise. It was 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And I didn't realize how much I appreciated it until I moved out into the suburbs and there was nothing but silence. I got out to the suburbs and I realized, I don't like this. This is scary, right? You hear a creak when it's quiet and you start thinking, what was that? Who's out there? Versus you hear sirens in the city and you go, oh, that's just normal part of life. So where I live now, no, there's not a lot of noise pollution, but I would probably prefer it. So maybe I can get something, movies you see people playing when they leave the city, the echo of the city and like a sound system or something like that. But I think that's something I'm going to need if I eventually want to fall asleep at a normal time and without freaking out over a tree branch.
Tim, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you're ready.
Oh, no.
All right. You can do this. You can do
Just hear
this.
the question.
Okay.
Comfort noise is a term that refers to artificial noise that is often added to signals to make the sound more pleasing. Some people prefer a busy cafe or a street. Others prefer the sounds of the city or a babbling brook or perhaps the ocean or perhaps nothing. Are you more comfortable with silence or with noise?
Am I more comfortable with sound?
Silence or noise?
Silence or noise. I like silence. It gives me a chance just to kind of reflect on my day, reflect on things that have happened around me. It's a good time for meditation and things of that nature. Just give me a chance to reflect back. But I guess I'm kind of in between because I do like noise too. But it has to be good noise. That noise, it has to be noise that I enjoy. Certain music. I like to bowl. There's a lot of noise in the bowling alley. Things of that nature. I love hearing my kids talk, stuff like that. Good noises, my grandkids running around, having a good time, stuff like that. But just noise, overall, I prefer quietness. I'd rather be quiet. Yeah.
It may surprise you to learn that in science there are different colors of noise. The most common are white, brown, blue, and pink, each corresponding to different frequency content. If you were noise, what kind of noise would you categorize yourself as? Aaron.
I'm going to relinquish my nerves and come into the question. If I was noise, I am noise. And the color I would be is red. The reason why, because I'm passionate. I'm in your face at the same time subtle. I'm within and without. That didn't make sense. Sometimes noise doesn't make sense. Sometimes red doesn't make sense. That's why I am red noise. Also, I would be such an interesting noise, they'd make a new color. They'd make an entirely new color. I would go from a softer red noise like his shirt to maybe an arrowhead red, to maybe a pepperoni red. And as you saw, those are all the different octaves of noise used for my voice to describe. That's an eggplant burgundy red. I probably would go there and do that early in the morning. Right. That would be correlated to the times of day. Yeah. It's on your mind, though. That's noise. And that's red.
Thank you.
It works. I did not expect an answer so colorful when I relinquished the stage to you earlier.
Tell you, relinquish your inhibitions.
Tintamarre.
Relinquish greatness.
Tintamarre is a French-Canadian festival in the province of Acadia that is characterized by locals marching through the streets, making as much noise as possible. And the purpose of this holiday is to demonstrate to the world the vitality and solidarity of the Acadian people. If you were to design or participate in such a holiday in the US, what kind of instrument or device would you use, and what part of the country would you want to hold this festival in? Attaya.
You keep looking at
me.
I should relinquish this question right back to you.
Okay, all right.
What instrument? I think I would go for, I would say a drum, but then everybody doesn't like drums. But I think, how can you not move to the sound of a drum, right? That's what I would go with. But then there's another piece of me that would maybe go with a saxophone. The saxophone can incite you, but it can also relax you. I think you can go with, but a drum could too, right? A drum can get you going, but it can also just take you into meditative place. Okay, so we see where I'm going here. Because I do like music. I like everything. Did you also ask where?
Yes.
Maybe New York. I've never been there. I want to go there, so it'll give me a reason to go. But it's also such a melting pot. You have so many people who come into the United States through New York. You have a lot of people who settle there. People just want to go there. So it would be a way to really include all sorts of different people. I don't know. I've never been to some places like New Mexico or Idaho. I'm sure there's a little bit of everybody there, but then I do hear places that are like, no, we don't really have too many of those people or that people. And I would want everyone to be able to participate and put their vibe in and see how they break it down.
All right. I think we have time for just one more. Perhaps surprisingly, there is such a thing as economic noise, which is defined as the opposite of information. It includes things like rumors, speculation, hype, and inaccurate data or ideas. Do you think we live in a world with a lot of social noise, or are we just better informed about what everyone else around us is doing? MaryJane.
Really? Darn. We're out of time. We're moving on to the evaluation portion of the. No, I'm just teasing. I think we definitely are in a generation where social media is so prevalent. It is a very useful tool for politicians, for celebrities, for athletes, for ourselves. And when I was running the marathon, I swear to you, everyone had their phone out documenting the whole thing. There was so much noise as far as the crowds, the spectators, the cheering. There were taiko drums, getting the beat going so that you're running to that motion. But social media has created so much noise that it keeps us from appreciating those things. Not just that marathon, but I went to the Grand Canyon, I went to Antelope Canyon and Bryce Canyon, all the canyons. I went to all the canyons. And people did not take the time to actually see the natural beauty with their own eyes. They were too busy documenting it so all their friends could see it. And I made a promise to myself that I would stop taking photos of things and start appreciating them with my own eyes. But I do think that there's so much noise with social media nowadays. It's impacted the way that we live, the way we interact with one another. I know that I probably put a photo of my marathon on Instagram before I called my parents about it. But that's the world we live in today. So I challenge you all to take a moment when you're in a place where you could really appreciate it without the impact of the social media noise. Do it. You'll find that it's a lot more rewarding and that moment stays with you longer. These are table topics.
I think that's probably all the time we have today. Thank you for being such good sports to our guests, and thank you for the amazing answers from everyone and the challenge from our Toastmaster, Adam Toastmaster.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Martin, for those challenging, very thought-provoking questions. I know you had my heart beating. I felt really bad for our new guests, but you guys answered so well, truthfully. I've seen some really great responses, like today, and I've seen some not great first responses. I'm not looking at anyone. But we've all been there before, and you guys did well. I just want to tell you. And now we will move to the evaluation portion of the meeting, and to guide us through that is going to be Kyle Levine.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Let's go over the timing rules for the evaluators.
Evaluators have 2 to 3 minutes each, and I'll put up the green card at 2 minutes, yellow at 2.5, and red at 3.
All right, thank you. For our one and only speech evaluator, we're going to... Wah? Okay. Wah, why don't you come on up?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, for relinquishing the stage. Wayne, thank you for your icebreaker. I had the advantage of listening to your mock run of your icebreaker, so I listened to it twice. Having said that, I've developed other criteria to evaluate you on. Strong points, you started with a great opening. You started out with a question that drew the audience in to ponder where you're going with this speech and how they're going to learn more about you. And you relinquished your nervousness and your fears. I thought you were very natural. I didn't detect any nervousness in your voice. Your voice was, the tone was very good, and you were at a very smooth pace. You didn't go too fast, or you didn't go too slow, so it was a good pace. Preparation, you had great opening, body and conclusion. Your body had great examples in it. I felt you were more comfortable, or you started becoming more comfortable telling the stories, because those were your stories. So I felt you were more comfortable there. And then your conclusion, it was a great conclusion to summarize what made you American and then what made you Japanese. The one thing I'd like for future speeches is to relinquish your notes. You did better at not looking at your notes in our mock run than you did here, but that's probably because it's a different setting with more people, which you'll get used to and develop more confidence. And also to hit your points more. Hit the different points that make you American. Hit the different points that make you Japanese, just to reinforce it throughout your speech, not just in the conclusion. Good points, minimal filler words. I did catch a few, but not too much, so that's good. You had good body language already, so the next step for future speeches is to use your body language with purpose, not just to, move. And great eye contact. Thank you, Wayne, and we look forward to hearing more speeches from you. Now I'd like to relinquish the stage again to our general evaluator.
It's a lot of relinquishment going on here. That counts. She said it does.
It does?
She said so.
Okay.
Well, it counts. It's on record.
All right. It is time now for the